Hello there, I'm the Story Lady again, and today I'm going to tell you another one of my stories. This is called Heini the Holly Tree Fairy. A long, long time ago there was a little fairy called Heini, and it was her special job to look after the holly trees. Every day she would polish the green petals so that they looked shiny. She would check the prickles to make sure that they were just right, and she would paint the red berries a beautiful red, bright red colour so that they looked beautiful and stunning. Most of the time Heini was quite pleased with herself. It was a big job to look after all the holly trees. But there was one thing that made Heini a little bit sad, and that was her dress. It was very important that fairies were not seen by humans unless they chose to be, so they had to blend in with whatever tree or flower they were looking after. Well, poor Heini had a dark green dress and big red boots. But where other fairies had lovely glossy wings, poor Heini had prickly brown ugly wings so that she could blend in with the trees. This didn't make Heini very pleased at all. It made sleeping quite uncomfortable at times. One morning, after a very bad sleep, Heini woke up very grumbly and she started on her job. She wasn't happy. "I hate this dress. I hate these boots. Oh, but I hate these wings," she said. She was so cross that she said it quite loudly. And the Fairy Queen appeared. "Good morning, Heini," she said kindly. "Oh, you look very tired this morning. What's the matter?" "I didn't get much sleep again. These horrible prickly wings and this horrible dress that I keep catching on these holly leaves and I keep tearing it. And now it looks really ugly. I want a nice pretty dress." The Fairy Queen smiled. "Oh, but Heini, you do such a beautiful, wonderful job. Look how these holly trees shine, and these red berries are the reddest I've ever seen." "I don't care," said Heini. "I want to be pretty. I want to be like all the other fairies, with a beautiful gown. And I want to be seen. I want people to look at me and admire me." The Fairy Queen frowned. "Are you sure that's what you'd like?" "Yes, I want to be beautiful," said Heini. "All right then," said the Fairy Queen. And she pulled out some fairy dust, sprinkled it on Heini, said some magic words, and whoosh! Heini whizzed up into the air. Her toes began to tingle, her legs began to tingle, her body tingled, her arms and hands went all tingly. Before she knew it, her whole body was tingling. Not in a nice way. There was a flash of light. And then suddenly, Heini found that she was on top of a tree. When she looked down, because she could only move her eyes, she noticed that she was wearing a beautiful white gown. Glancing as much as she could behind her, she could just see the tips of some beautiful glossy wings. And looking up, she was pretty sure she was wearing a nice crown. But, as you could see, all she could move were her eyes. Nothing else moved. "What's happening?" Because she couldn't move her mouth either. When she glanced down, she could see some beautiful baubles, gorgeous tinsel, sparkly lights all around her, and she realized what she was. She was the Christmas tree fairy. Oh, but Christmas tree fairies are just dolls. They're very pretty, but they're just dolls. They don't move. Oh no, cried Heini in her head, because she couldn't move her mouth. Suddenly, two young children burst through the door. Look at that beautiful fairy, they cried. But that's all they said, because then they saw all the presents under the tree. They weren't interested in the Christmas fairy after that. In fact, all day, nobody was interested in the Christmas fairy. A few people glanced at her and said, "Oh yes, she's very pretty." They were more interested in their presents and talking to each other and playing games and eating and dancing and having fun. Poor Heini. All she could do was watch. She got very bored. If she could have opened her mouth, she would have yawned and yawned. But she couldn't. All day she was stuck on top of this tree. Beautiful Christmas tree, mind, but just a tree. And she was extremely pretty, but she was just a doll. Later that night, when everyone had gone to bed exhausted after such a fabulous day, the Fairy Queen appeared. "How are you enjoying being pretty, Heini?" she asked. "I don't like it," Heini tried to say. "I'm bored." "Well, of course you're bored, dear. You're a very pretty, beautiful, sparkly Christmas tree doll." "I don't want to be a Christmas tree doll anymore," said Heini. "Please turn me back." "Well, you said you wanted to be seen." "I want to be seen. I want to be useful. I miss my holly trees." "Okay then, if you're absolutely sure." Heini tried to nod, but of course she couldn't. "Yes, I'm sure." So, the Fairy Queen pulled out her magic dust, sprinkled some on Heini, whispered some magic words. Heini's feet began to tingle. You guessed it. Her legs began to tingle. Her body began to tingle. Her arms began to tingle. And before she knew it, Heini was whizzing up into the air, twirling and swirling, until finally, bang! She was back on her holly trees. "Oh, I can move again. Oh, I'm going to start work straight away." She was so pleased to be back with her trees. So she got back to work. She started rubbing, because they didn't look as shiny as they used to when she was working on them. So she rubbed, and she scrubbed, and she checked the prickles, and she got out her red paint, and she painted those berries the beautiful bright red. She was so pleased to be back. But she was so busy, Heini didn't notice that although her dress was green again, and she had on her brilliant bright red boots, her wings were not horrible, ugly, prickly brown wings anymore. They were beautiful, light green, glossy wings. Maybe she'll notice when she goes to bed that night. Who knows? Hope you enjoyed it. Happy Christmas, everybody!